Well, Barrow Raiders put in a great performance on Sunday to come from behind and win at Halifax Panthers. But in this tough world of rugby league, they're back out again, would you believe? On Wednesday night, a tough game as well against informed Doncaster. I've got Paul Crarey, the coach, with me now. Paul, that is tough, isn't it? The way rugby league is to have a game within, 3 days?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, John, really, the fixture. I mean, I'm not a great lover of the format this year. I think it's not fair. I mean, we don't know how it was going to pan out at the start, but teams are putting big numbers on North Wales. I think Doncaster won 114-0 on Sunday.
120, I think it was, Paul.
120.
Which is no good for either side, is it, really?
No, not really. No good for the game as well. We're sending kids there to try and help them, stem the tide. I know the club pretty well, and I said to try and help them, and our lads are getting some good experience there. Maybe defending more than they should, but they're doing really well. But we've got to back up, and they've had a team run, and we've had an absolute war, and finished the game with 12 men again, and had to battle hard to survive in that last 7 minutes after being really comfortable. But we've got a few back. Joe Bullock's put his hand up to play. Curtis Tier, young Finn Dutton as well. We rotated our nines and kept Josh off for long periods with one eye on the fixture, because we've set a target of 4 wins in the last 4 games, and we've won 2 of them, and this is the big one. And then Whitehaven at home again is another big game, because they've done really well. Having said that, they're playing a lot of the bottom end teams, so it's not as physically demanding as at the top end of the table what we're at, but we're just looking forward to it. We were at our very, very best when we won there. They've got a superstar team. Rieslin's back this week as well. Gebby's unplayable at the back, and like I say, Watson Boas, and you go through their team and it's full of stars and international Papua New Guineans and stuff like that. But we've beaten once before, and it doesn't faze us really. I think it'll be great with our home crowd, and we've done really well this year, only losing 5 games out of 22, I think it is now, which is incredible, really, considering some of the teams above us are on massive budgets.
Yeah. Have you exceeded expectations, Paul, or were you? I know you'd be hoping to do as well as possible. Have you exceeded, or are you just about where you thought you might be?
It's difficult, really, John. We never really look at it that way. We look at it as how we survived through an injury crisis. At least our coaches talk about penalties and all that. But the modern day game, there's a lot of penalties. There's a lot of 6 agains. It's how the referees interpret things each week. One's different to the one. Sin bins are killing the game for high shots when people are falling into tackles and staying down and getting people sent off, and it's just a bit ugly at the moment. I think there needs to be a readdress of how the game's officiated.
Generally, what do you think about the standard of refereeing now as what it used to be?
What I see now is a lot of Super League, a lot of Championship refs refereeing in the Super League.
Yeah.
I think, we look at some of the decisions that are getting made and missed. I watched a blatant knock on, and the linesman stood 2 meters away and didn't give it, in one of the games over the weekend. And, it's a difficult job. I know that, but sometimes it's common sense. If somebody's fallen into a tackle and lads are bewildered when they're getting sent from the field from a head knock, which it's impossible to pull out of, and probably we'll try to look after the insurance side of the game and stuff like that. But, it's too many stop starts. One side can't have the ball or doesn't get to have the ball for 10 minutes at a time. A side can rack up set after set after set. And it's not good to watch. The game's played out of dummy half a lot when it really should be skill based, and I'm old school, I am, but I watched the ball players, and that seems to have gone. Everyone just wants to destroy the rucks and get 6 again and play off the speed of the ruck, and I just think the game needs to be policed a little bit better from the people that are policing the referees, really. And like I said, we had 2 sent off against Widnes. We had 1 sent off at a crucial moment against Broadbent, and nothing come up of the incident in terms of a ban or anything like that, but it cost us the game. They scored 2 tries in that period when we played them at home against Widnes as well. They had the ball when we were down 11 men, and we didn't touch the ball for 6 or 7 minutes. And in that period, they scored tries. And it's difficult to defend when you have 11, but not difficult to attack.
You had Jared sent off late on Sunday as well, didn't you?
Yeah, the just guy come against the grain. He was going for the try line. He was falling down, and Jared caught him high. It was a penalty at best, because what was he supposed to do? He's not going to, he's a competitor. Anyone's a competitor that plays professional sport. Is he going to just pull out and let him score? But, the guy was falling in to go over the line, and he just tried, and he stopped him. But it was high. I give it that, but it's nowhere sin bin. We were 28-14 up at that point, with 7 minutes to go, and then they scored off the set when we were down to 12 men. And then again, we defended with 12 men for 7 minutes, and it was like the Alamo. We just repelled them, and like I said, them decisions are massive, and sometimes they go for you, and sometimes they go against you. So, we'll cop it on the chin because we defended it. We've got to defend errors. You've got to defend penalties. You've got to defend 6 agains, because that's the modern day game. So you've got to get used to it. So when I hear coaches go, we conceded this, and he did this, and he did that. It's the same for both sides. It's how your players manage it, and can you criticise for somebody for putting the body on the line on a try, save and tackle? No, but the consequence of that is he gets 10 minutes in the bin. So I just think the whole game, our level, needs to be looked at. A couple of tries that were against us, there was obstruction in there, and probably at Super League level they would have been chalked off. They ran into our players and obstructed them, but it doesn't get picked up at our level. There is no screen, the big screen. Do you know what I mean? There's no captain's challenges, and I just think across the board, if we're going to do that, it happens at every level. It's not different rules for different levels of rugby league.
How do you think the championship fixtures should be worked out for next year, for instance?
Well, I've heard some reports. I've been talking to a few agents regarding players and stuff, and we've heard that there could be an east and a west, but again, it might favour the Yorkshire sides because they only have to fall out of bed and they land up at Batley or Dewsbury or Halifax and all that, where our end, we're travelling all the time. Travel comes in your cap now as well. So that'll affect us, working Whitehaven and Barrow more than anyone. Probably Newcastle, but they're a feeder team for York. And then you've got now Dewsbury going in with Huddersfield. So they're going to be a force next year if they're going to use Huddersfield players. And the landscape of rugby league's changing. I think that's what the RFL want. I've heard they want to get rid of the reserves and adopt championship teams, but then who wants to coach a bloke that's landing up on a Friday night to play? Clubs are going to lose their identity. They're going to merge your teams, and Dewsbury will probably merge a little bit with Halifax, and is that going to improve the attendance at Dewsbury? I don't think it will, because they've already watched Huddersfield play probably in one of the nights, and they're going to double up. It's just an easy fix for the powers that be, just to just throw the Super League clubs in with us.
You mentioned talking to agents there, Paul. You've got mapped out ahead what you need for next season.
Well, everybody's budget's changing. At least if you're in the brown envelope brigade, you can bring players in. But if you're not, you got to go and slim your squad down. We're at the point where we're losing players and we can't replace them. At the moment, we're trying to jiggle and get players in on our budget that are locally based, because we sign players that are because of our dispensation. We're allowed to sign some players before the deadline, but then when this cap comes in, we find that everything's a struggle to get everybody in. So we'll probably be losing players and not bringing anyone in, and relying heavily on our academy setup, which has been a lifeline for the club. You know, but we'll just see how it pans out. We have a fantastic group, the Blue and White Knights, that could help us out if I have a meeting with them. You know, but a few of them have disbanded because they're involved with the local professional football team. So, you know, and they've gone down the division, and the landscape's changed for them financially. So, you know, everything affects everything. But we've had a great run. We've had a fantastic few years where we've sat at the top end of the championship, and we've fought our way into the championship. You know, we've been relegated, we've come back and won the comp League One, and pushed our way up to the top end of the championship through hard work, determination, and great decisions. You know. But like I say, people have had a leg up into the championship now, and have amalgamated it. And I just think we've just absolutely weakened a fantastic competition, because teams that are struggling badly in this division, they're not going to be able to regroup because it's relentless, you know, and it's difficult. But if there was another division they could fall down into and regroup and not play as intense teams, then there is a chance of regrouping. But what you might find is some teams will just disappear off the landscape. So, you know, hopefully that's not us in the next few years. But like I say, rugby league's changing. I don't know if it's for me. You know, at the moment, I've got to seriously think about what I want to do. I've been in it that long, and you know, there's a lot going on in my life. So, you know, the season will have a look at that, but you know, a lot of the players have signed, you know, and asked me if I'm going to be there and stuff like that. So, you know, I've got to really think about what I want to do at the end of the year.
So you're still undecided whether you're going to be here next, because are you the longest serving coach in rugby league?
I don't know, John. I've never really thought about it.
How long have you done Barrow now?
Well, I've done a 10-year stint off the belt end just lately, and then I did 2 years before that. So in total, 12 years. I think I'm up around the 370 odd game mark as a coach. So that's the longest in the history. You know, I beat Frank Foster's record of when I got to 350. So, you know, I'm still there now. But like I said, there's a lot going on in my life in terms of, you know, people who have seriously lived in my family, you know, and other things going on. So I'm going to get to the end of the year. It's been a tough year this year in terms of what we've had to deal with, and how we've come through it as a group. And I'm proud of my group for coming through that, and still being in the top 4 of this competition. Dropped out of 5th and back up to 4th, you know, for all season, which is an incredible thing with 2 games to go. When you look at, you know, the sides below us, Doncaster, Widnes, and Sheffield, who spend a lot of money. I spoke to Craig Lingard about what they spend this year, and it's a lot of money compared to what we've got to spend. So, you know, we're proud to be where we're at. But like I say, I'd like a rethink of the structure for next year. Definitely a two league system where we go into playoffs at the end against each other. But I definitely think it's got to be like 2 different. If they want to go east and west, do it like that, whatever. But we just need a 2-tier structure where we play each other, whoever's in that division, home and away. I'd like to see us probably bin the cups this year, bin the playoffs, and play everybody home and away, and then whoever wins the comp goes to Super League, or the top 2. Because when we say about the Super League, saying if say, just for example, Bradford got relegated and Barrow got promoted, then players from Bradford would want to play Super League and sign for Barrow. So when they say teams are not ready and all that, it's just a massive changing of the guards at teams. Salford got relegated. Half of Salford are playing Super League for 1 St Helens and 2 Bradford. So there is players there, and it's the case of the money. The money helps you, and it helps you get to Super League. It's not about the ground. It's not about whether you've got a gantry or you've got a big screen. It's about personnel and wages and money. And if you haven't got that and you get relegated, you lose your money, and that money goes to another team, and they can bring your players in and find their own players, and they become a Super League team. Working the last Cumbrian side in Super League, you know, and so it can happen. We were the last side. I played in the last side at Barrow that was in the Stones Bit Championship, which is equivalent to Super League, and that's what it's called. So it is possible if the teams get the money, but they're not going to get the money if there's IMG ratings and there's all these stumbling blocks in the way. But why can't they get to Super League? They've got to have a dream. The fans have got to have a dream. You know, they've got to have the disappointment of relegation, and then the ability to turn it round and get have a bounce back year. Yeah. You've got to have a hope, because the game will die a death, because I feel it's a little bit flat, the game. I went to Halifax at the weekend, and the crowd's not the same at Halifax. Our fans were fantastic, but the Halifax fans, it used to be full, the stand, and it's, you know, they've gone through a period where they went bust and they've started again. They've got a great team on paper, but they're not going to make the playoffs and stuff like that, you know. So and they missed a few games, and the league let them back in, and which is a little bit farcical for me.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. You know, it looks like Feather coming back in next year. You know, so that's another team. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the game, but it just needs a quarter looking at and making some great decisions for the game, because we want a tough championship, and then we want a team, a developing league that can push into the championship and then drop back, and if they can't hack it, and not can't hack it, that's probably a strong word, but if they need to regroup.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion. Whether it counts for anything, I don't know.
Paul, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. It's great to hear your thoughts. All the very best for Wednesday, and all the very best for the rest of the season. And may you come to the right decision at the end of the year.
Yeah, okay, John. Thank you. Bye.